Where you look, where you touch, where you feel, yeah. Where you look, where you touch, where you feel, yeah. Can we talk about me and you? Can we talk about the truth? I wanna know, I wanna know. Can we talk about me and you? Can we talk about me and you? Can we talk about the truth? I wanna know, I wanna know. Can we talk about me and you?
Well, hello.
Oh, I pressed the wrong button. Sorry.
Oh, you did press the wrong button.
Yeah, I muted the music, not my mic. There we go. James, I mean, this has been a wild ride to set up, hasn't it, buddy?
It has. There's been technical issues galore, but good news, everyone. We're finally here. Not only on the Pokemon Unite subreddit's official BattleHub channel. Woo! Finally, we're here. We've got some aficionados behind us, but the BattleHub is not going to be the tournament on the menu. No. We have for you the Mint Mori series, of course, commemorating one of the lovely moderators, Mint Mori, who is going to be hanging up the proverbial green sword and moving away to enjoy some more time to themselves. And the Mint Mori series, Bacon, it's quite fascinating, isn't it? Because it's all about constrictions on what you can buy, but not in the traditional picks and ban sense.
Yeah, so over the next 3 weeks, guys, we're going to be having different themes for each of our cup. Of course, our open worldwide. We do expect this mainly to be looking at NA and EU teams just because of the time zone that's been set up. But for this first one, James, if I am correct in thinking, we will have normal, steel, and bug types.
Yes, which does mean that sadly Sizzle and Dodrio miss out by a matter of weeks. That's kind of a shame. But Thea Sky Ruins does not. Yes. The new map has been out for all of 2.5 days. And boy, is it refreshing to play on a map that doesn't have a coin flip with 2 minutes to go. More jungle, more interesting mega boss jungles to try and figure out where you should prioritize. Spoiler alert, Regieleki, the new Rotom, is pretty much the place to go most of the time. But even in the late game, do you go for Rayquaza in the pit? Do you go and try and do some sneaky scores, which are valid now, rather than leaving the rest of your team to rot in Zapdos pit? So many possibilities on top of the restrictions that these guys are going to have. No picks and bans, of course, this time around, because there are simply not enough Pokemon to be able to deal with that. But we have 8 teams entering the gauntlet, Bacon. Today, we're going to end up with just one. That'll be our winner. We do have a returning BattleHub bridesmaid in Shining Crobat. They were second place in both of the EMEA BattleHubs that we've had so far. The rest of them, though, great to see new names and great to see fantastically thought of names as well, as our first series is going to be Haunter x Haunter versus the Golducks.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. So let's just get on into it. Let's bring up the team, see what we're playing with. Of course, that steel type being Duraludon and Aegislash there, the normal type of Blissey, and then the bug type of Crustle. I thought Blissey was pure fairy, but it might be one of those normal fairy hybrids.
No. So remember, Chansey Blissey was just pure normal until Gen 6 when they added the fairy in. So just a run through of all the Pokemon that you can choose. There's only 9 available. And believe it or not, that's actually the most, or the biggest number, I should say, that you'll be able to choose from during the entirety of the Mint Mori series. Blissey, Crustle, Lucario, Wigglytuff, which has just had a recent buff, by the way. Very useful with Double Slap. Aegislash, of course, still one of the meta Pokemon alongside Lucario. Buzzwole, Duraludon, Snorlax, Greedent. So that is a very defender and supporter heavy lineup, really. So for my money, Duraludon, Lucario, and Aegislash, maybe throwing in Buzzwole there, will be mainstays for a lot of these lineups. And as you can see there, Aegislash on both lineups. Duraludon, not on both lineups. Absol isn't a normal type Pokemon.
No, they shouldn't have been picked.
Which unless it's been changed underneath my nose, which I'm pretty sure it hasn't, because Absol's in my generation, which I really enjoyed, which was Gen 3. So I think that, it is pure dark. So this one is kind of a...
Yeah, you can see this has been pulled to a close.
Kind of
I think someone tried to slip in, quickly last-second change, and they got caught on an Absol. Yep.
Now, the good news, actually, is that we should be able to end the battle right now, which I'm going to be able to do.
Okay, you've got admin rights, correct?
I do have admin rights.
Right, let's bring this back to our faces then whilst we get this sorted.
They gave me too much power, Bacon. And that was a thrilling 0-0 game. The first ever draw in Pokemon Unite. We know... Here's the thing, right? With picks and bans, with any constriction, because Pokemon Unite traditionally, for the first year, no picks and bans, no restrictions of any kind. It's very much not even lane picks or role constrictions like you will see in other MOBAs. It's you go what if you want a team of 5 attackers, probably gonna lose, but you could do that. It's kind of like early Overwatch, I guess, where it's chaos rules, but a little bit too much chaos. Trying to throw a dark type into the normals, bugs and steals.
Let's talk about strats, because I've been theory crafting, looking at this right now, and as we look at this new map, a much bigger map, it's got to be said, than the OG from last year. Very similar in the same sense. There are slight different timings. The addition of the new bees in Altara in the center gives a little bit more XP, as well as little XP changes around the arena. One thing that is very viable now, I think, looking at it because of the spacing, is playing 1-2-2. So we could get 2 central laners, or dare I say, we've got Greedent in the mix. Perhaps an Invader could be a pick here, because Greedent with Floatstone, which is now viable, could look to just go and invade. You can go and snipe one of the buff Pokemon if you're running fully maxed out. Remember, we don't have emblems though, do we? So there's no extra buffs coming in from those.
So I'm going to agree with you and disagree with you on certain things. I think that the Invade Meta could very well make a comeback. Yes. I think that's really possible. Of course, seen in the early days of Greedent being brought into the game, then he got a big nerf, and then it's like, do we really want to do this? I do not think that Floatstone is as viable as people may have hoped. Certainly more useful than it used to be. But when you look at the held item meta, it's still not necessarily great. Maybe
I see it's only viable on near enough Greedent, because it only buffs physical attack, and it's only right at the start where it's 24 physical attack is actually relevant, because later in the game that's nothing. That's not even a level up, so it's just purely to give that extra movement speed for the initial invade for Greedent, which does help. It's a massive, I want to say 120 something, 150 maybe movement speed buff. That's big.
I'm proud of you for giving that a go, because goodness me, there's a lot of numbers that can confuse a lot of people. Going back to the earlier point, actually, about whether we split lane back to the traditional 2-1-2, or whether we go with the meta going towards the end of Remote Arena, which was 1-1-3. The 1-1-3, a lot of the 1-1-3 was, again, surrounding the Dreadnought, so you've got less people that require the need to rotate down. So we could see an opposite to that, because as I said earlier, Regieleki is very much now the premium jungle to get. There is a lot more equality, I think, between team fights and succeeding in getting the KOs and actually scoring, especially once we get into late game. So it's possible that we might see a flip, since Regieleki is top lane, so we might see 3-1-1 instead of 1-1-3. But then again, there's more jungle just overall to deal with. So we might see maybe 2 folks going into central jungle, or like you say, they might just be safe 2-1-2. It opens up the possibilities, and especially with the Pokemon set that we have, where there's a lot of defenders, a lot of supporters, there's only 4 Pokemon that can really deal a nominal amount of damage in those team fights. It could lead to some very interesting strategies, of course, none of them with Absol.
And one thing that we've got to be talking about, you're talking about more Mon, that is more objectives, especially in that lower lane with the 3 different Reggies that we get there, Ice, Steel, and Rock. They all give different buffs, so you've got to change up your strategy on the fly, which is a completely new thing to Unite, of course, and one we don't really see within MOBAs at all. So that's a very interesting thing, and each different buff can be useful in some ways. Like, what is it? It's a physical attack buff, there's the special attack buff, and then you've also got the HP and movement speed buff, which is the one which most people are there going like, is it really needed? There's also the aspect that Regieleki doesn't give team XP, you know, so whereas the bottom one does give team XP, but it's not as much as back with Dreadnought. So no. I think you're right in saying that the top objective is the stronger one, and talking about the stronger objective, Regieleki does some damage if you're not careful. That's some major AoE they can throw out sometimes.
It's Rotom on the good stuff, really. Yeah. And it's scary because it's also got, like,
that's it right there.
Rotom, yeah, it's got mini electro webs as well. It's quite a potent force, not just in terms of when you're actually taking it down, trying to secure it for your team, but think about the push potential as well. That's something that Rotom was never really good at. Even if you were to push with a full team survey of the lane, if you as the opposing team get in place, especially if you're on a second tier zone, you're going to have the shielding from the zone to be able to repel that attack. With Regieleki, it's a little bit more difficult. And I think a little bit more difficult is kind of the purpose of the Thea Sky Ruins. It's a little bit more difficult to flip things at 2 minutes. It's a little bit more difficult to win those early team fights. And it's the small margins which are going to either lead to bigger steamrolls than what we saw on Remote Stadium, or it's going to lead to closer games going right down to the wire. We've had some great games on the Unite BattleHub, of course. It's been wonderful to see even like last-second scores changing the tides of the game. But I think in Thea Sky Ruins, it's going to be a little bit of a more frequent story, actually, which I think is great for us as casters. It's great for the audience, of course, maybe a little bit more stressful for the players.
Well, one thing as well as a big change is the access to that center, to the Rayquaza pit, Rayquaza, however you want to say it, you know. The actual entrance to get in there was pretty much, well, just straight from northeast southwest previously, and then you had the jump-ins. You've still got the jump-ins, but now you've got way more entrances in and a lot of grasser coverage as well. The change as well, which is interesting, is moving the Bell toys to northeast southwest, right, instead of just having them on the corners. So it's just a little bit of a change in your rotation through that central path, and then also where do you go from there, because I do see invading become more of a thing as you're trying to push, right? Again, once you've broken the first 2 goals of your opponents, you're going to want to nullify that central lane, forcing them onto the sides, because those side feeding lanes now are buffed up to 6 score and a little bit more XP there for the comeback mechanic.
Okay, so take 2, folks. Mulligan, let's go in. And by the way, I apologize for my fuzziness. I promise you, I'm not living in an oasis. I am not a mirage. I am really here. And what I see once again is similar picks to what we had last time. 2 Aegis/2 Duraludon doesn't surprise me. They are the biggest damage dealers out of the current roster. Blissey, it's been tweaked, been a little bit of a nerf recently, but still, I think very useful for that supporter role. Still. Snorlax on both sides doesn't surprise me at all. Really underrated in my eyes, whether you're going with the Yawn build, whether you're going with the Shield build. But then we have a difference of second choice here. When we go for defenders, Bacon, we have Greedent for the side of the Golducks. We have Crustle for the side of Haunter X Haunter. And that's a tough one, because for me, Greedent's still way less powerful than when it debuted. Crustle really hasn't changed that much. The meta has shifted around it rather than it changing with the meta. And so really it's all about whether that Greedent can get up to speed quickly. Otherwise, the Crussle's excellent for early game, especially with whatever build you're going for, whether you're going for the push build or whether you're going for that Stealth Rock build differently. So we're into the game. Haunter X Haunter on the purple and Golducks in the orange. Welcome to Thea Sky Ruins. If you hadn't had a chance to catch up, plenty of new Pokemon to enjoy, but I'm sure that the action will still be the same. Very entertaining.
A stacking Crustle. Okay, that's the first little I guess, surprise for us. We're definitely looking at Aegislash, a very capable stacker there, but the Crossel, I wasn't thinking that would be coming into play there, James. I thought it was going to be purely defensive there to try and protect the Aegislash.
Not only that, but one thing that we did expect is the potential 3-1-1 formation with the emphasis on Regieleki. We already have Aegislash, we already have Snorlax, we already have Greedent up there, but here comes the Duraludon from the jungle, gets the first kill, gets the second one. Now it's just that poor little squirrel, and he is going to run away. This is an excellent push from Haunter x Haunter. Duraludon sneaking into the jungle, clearing it up beautifully, and is that the Squovet's going to get a small little amount of pointage, but Haunter x Haunter ruling the roost on the top lane as we now look towards bottom, and this is a terrifying duo if ever I've seen one to try and break through. The Blissey and the Snorlax, that is health for days, but not a lot of pushing potential. They're going to be hoping for the Duraludon to pay them a visit in the next minute.
Well, it makes perfect sense, right? They're looking to sustain on that bottom lane, don't give anything on over, but then keep all the focus on attacking the top lane. But if we look over here, James, I talked about the invasion meta, and this is proven true with the Greedent right there, taken away from the Duraludon. This could be just more stacking up, waiting for that later game to try and reduce what the Duraludon can do.
And here we go. It is the Greedent invade with Comagen on the Greedent. He encounters the Duraludon. He encounters the Crossel. And as Greedent is one to do, runs away and lives to play another day. Vincey Wincy there on the Snorlax, another small 5. Interesting to see whether the different weight items are going to affect here. Of course, Comagen, as you would with an invade style of play, you're going to carry that fluffy tail. As once again, it's a whale. Sorry, I should say Maluak, the Aegislash there, moving into the center. Itachi, the other one, is going to go down, and Jimmy is going to head back to base. But now we have the interesting part of this new meta, Bacon. 20 seconds until Reggie and Regieleki enter the field. We don't know what Reggie on bottom lane, of course, but whether there's going to be a quick rotate up to top lane, or whether we're going to see a little bit more staticity or staticness. I was trying to go for a cool word.
You were trying to be smart. We get it.
I was trying to be smart. Listen, I'm working with limited brain cells here, but early days, Haunter x Haunter going for a push on bottom lane.
They've got different plans.
This is incredible. I've not seen this in a Unite game yet.
I'm sorry, folks at home. You can put tours in chats all you want, because we're coming into a new map where observing, we don't really know what's going to go on. And I don't think at all, James, we were expecting this. Both teams completely giving over each side, and no, why? That makes no sense.
This has big solo queue vibes, because it's been a weird season for a lot of people where everyone's like, oh, the matchmaking's a little bit off, as Comagen once again looking for the steals, and I don't think he actually got that. It's
agreed, and you be careful. He can run. Go! The little legs tried to carry, but the sword cut him down.
Unfortunate there, but as my point was going back to, now we're in a new season. People are like, oh yeah, bottom lane, that's a good idea, as if like Dreadnought's still part of the meta. Fascinating to see that Haunter x Haunter there prioritizing the Reggie buff, and they're going to try and make this pay on top lane. They're just waiting for that moment to get the score down. It'll be the 21 from Malinak there. So in terms of a points lead, Haunter x Haunter further extending theirs, but you got to look at Golducks there, now looking to go for a bottom lane push of their own. I don't think they're going to be that successful, because here's Snorlax, here's Crossel, here's Blueberry, of course, giving all of the health, and Duraludon now with that firepower. This is a very successful defensive push out from Haunter x Haunter. As much as I think they went for the wrong mega jungle, Bacon, I think that they've played this perfectly.
But look at this, they balled up on that bottom lane. No one's there right now, and the Greedent's just allowed to drop in a couple of points, not that many, only 18 up into the top lane. But again, there's a lot of freedom being given on over to the Golducks, and well, Haunter x Haunter have to be careful. They look very powerful in team fights, but on the individual like covering of the field, they just seem a little lacking to me, James.
Are they going to be lacking in the next couple of team fights? Potentially, because as you can see, Golducks are responding now to what Haunter x Haunter put up the first slew of of Mega Jungle. And now we've got our first major team fight. Down goes Aegislash, and Golducks haven't really fully committed to this because they're on top lane. You can see they're all on their lonesome. It's the Duraludon of Brett, and yeah, he's going to get the Regieleki, but Golducks have paid the price on bottom lane once again. Regice goes their way. That is a buff to HP regain. And now Haunter x Haunter are able to re-establish the defensive line on top lane and prevent the Regieleki from getting to the zone this time around. That said, Golduck's looking to push now on lower lane, and this is a big push. Poor old Dunyor here on the Snorlax is a little bit helpless, and he's just trying to save his own life. The goal was gone as soon as everybody transitioned to top lane, but here comes support finally. Is there going to be any knockdowns? Dunyor still surviving just about. Malinak is basically giving his life for the cause here. He's going to do it down most likely. There it is. And Blissey Snorlax going to retreat to their zone 2 base now as we enter the final 3 minutes 30.
One thing though you've, I guess, not noticed, James, there, or you probably did, just didn't say it, but notice how they fell back but kept on the line to protect the bottom goalpost for Golducks. They're able to push off the charge. They also got the Regieleki to send it in deep. So realistically across that fight, you'll notice it with the points jumping up. They technically won it even though they lost the Regi at the bottom.
Of course, another new addition is the jungle in the center pitch. You've got Swablues, you've got your Altarias, get them while they're hot. And Golducks, the goal scoring currently hot for them as they've taken a 3-point lead, but that is penance, really, as Voltage going in on the Duraludon scurries away, and then just in the nick of time as well, otherwise he was going to go down. Brett caught out, though, didn't realize that all of them were top lane. Down he goes. Malinak, Snorlax, Greedon, all here now as Malinak trying to get out of a tight jam. He is able to get out of there just about, but the Aegislash dueling is still abundant. That said, Duraludon once again showing the offensive prowess. This is not looking too good for Golducks. We've not really seen that much in the way of ultis either. There's been, I think, a Blissey ulti here and there, but no one really ready to commit here as we're now 20 seconds away from Rayquaza.
But will they be able to get the Regieleki just in time? You can see the team waiting. They don't know if they can commit so early. They decide in the end to go for it. That was the ult incoming on from the Greedon, but it will be Haunter x Haunter. It was bound to happen, James, wasn't it?
I wish I watched the show now to make a funny reference. Now, look at this. Are we going to see a full push with the Regieleki, or are we going to see a split push towards Rayquaza? Well, certainly that's the idea from Malinak here as he arrives with Dunyon, and now this is the full team rotation, actually. So Regieleki is going to actually hit that target. He's going to make sure that the zone goes down for a quick score, but now we're looking at who gets the Rayquaza first. The answer is Haunter x Haunter. It's Malinak who led the charge. He's first in, last out, gets the Greedon down, and now who's going to basically bail from this fight first and try and get a score? Malinak chases down the Duraludon. It's going to be 100 on the other side, a 40 going the way of Golducks, but this is looking like Haunter x Haunter is going to extend the lead and take the first game.
Remember as well, that score shield slash whatever you want to call it, because it does speed up as well, does give you it's infinite. It stays until the end of the game, and then it can be removed, but you've got to get rid of it fairly quickly. And as we, I guess, hand on over to a blank screen, Haunter x Haunter, we'll be able to see through the stats here, James, that it was so even right up until that Rayquaza fight, which was a big decider there right at the end. But it wasn't the Rayquaza that made the decision; it was the team fight, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's really, I think there's still a lot of questions in, there's so many options now available to you. Look at that recovery from Blueberry, by the way. What a support carry. Again, there's a lot of recovery to be had when you're paired up with a Snorlax on bottom lane. But all around, I think just the decisiveness from Haunter x Haunter, right from that first Reggie deploy, I think that they had a very good game plan about what they were going to do. Everyone was expecting go Regieleki. It's the most important jungle. They confounded us all, went bottom lane, got the buff, played the fallout of that situation perfectly. And okay, they may have lost out on the second set of Reggies, but overall, because they were so, I guess, knowledgeable as to what everyone else was going to do in the Rayquaza fight, Snorlax broke off early, scored a 40, but the team fight was lost. The points were scored. The surrender came through, and Haunter x Haunter going on to match point scenario into game number 2.
Can I just point out as well, here, total points added by Rotom is still in the game. They haven't changed over to Regieleki yet.
I did not notice that.
No, I've only just noticed that there. Because I was curious how many Regielekis actually connected on through, and in the end, it was only one by each team. So, yeah. Definitely a vital. We saw Regieleki, I think, is going to be more important as the games go on. But for now, we'll just have to head back to our faces, even if it may be blurry. I don't know what's going on with there, James.
I'm very blurry.
I'll have to give it a little bit of a refresh, I think.
I could try and refresh my camera myself. That's a possibility.
Let me do it my end, just to be safe. You know, we can do it live. Don't worry, he'll be back. There he is. That's a bit clean. That's clean. There is my end.
That looks a little bit better. That's still not in HD glory. I mean, I'm trying to show off all of my weight loss here, and I'm not really getting the opportunity to do that. But hey, we live and we learn. We have our next lobby code. Excellent. We're moving along quickly. By the way, a quick update on the other series going on. There are 3 other series going on in the quarterfinals. Bug Bix is currently 1-0 up against Dark Thunder, and we do not have any scores through from Breathing Hammers versus Crossel Crew or Black Flames versus Shining Crobat. Now, of course, Shining Crobat, definitely the team that we're keeping an eye on, Bacon. Always the bridesmaid and never the bride. They have managed to hit 2 finals in the Battle Hub. There have only been 2 Battle Hubs, by the way, so that's a pretty impressive record. Not so impressive is that they have not won a single game once they have reached that final. So they are very much looking to buck the trend this time around.
In all fairness, though, getting to the finals is impressive in its own right. And we have seen some very powerful teams step on through the doors of the Unite BattleHub here. And we'll have to see. They should be in contention to be our top seed right now going on into it. But we don't know. This is a community tournament with parameters set around it, which are very anti-meta. You know, we do have 2 per se meta Pokemon still in the pick, with I would argue Aegislash and of course Blissey still feels vital to many teams, you know. Lucario, yes, is steel, so it's definitely a pick right there, you're right.
I think that it's but yeah, I do get what you mean as well, though, in that it's still difficult to really place a proper, like, we know Shining Crobat because we know Shining Crobat. They've taken part in the Battle Hub, but this is a very different set of circumstances from the Battle Hub, where, yeah, you have picks and bans, and so stuff like Hooper and Blissey, at least in the old meta, could be locked away, never to be seen again for the rest of the series, whereas here it's like, it's the same set of Pokemon, but it's a constricted set of Pokemon, and so maybe putting people out of their comfort zone in a different way, and the team overall with Team Comp.
You're very right. Right, I'm just quickly getting on in the results. It was Haunter x Haunter. Haunter x Haunter. How do I get both of them in one go there, huh?
Because it's a reference, baby.
Yeah, I know.
It's meant to trip you up. HXH.
Right. We will be swapping sides as well, remember, folks. So whilst Haunter x Haunter was over on the purple side last time, they'll now be jumping over to the orange side. Gives a little bit of fairness anyway, you know, what you're used to, going left to right or right to left.
Or top to bottom. Or bottom to top.
I mean, you do that anyway during the game, but...
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah.
Right. We're just waiting on the players to get on in. As soon as they're ready, we shall be getting going.
And I'm excited to see whether Haunter x Haunter do press the advantage here, because you're absolutely right. Up until, I mean, consider this. Going into the Rayquaza situation, I know there was the Regieleki threat, and that was always impending doom for the second zone, and that was going to flip the lead of the game to Haunter x Haunter anyway. But Golducks were in there, and from the second Reggie push, they benefited the most out of that. They took a 3-point lead. Yes, it's a 3-point lead. It's minute, but it's still a lead nonetheless. It shows their competitiveness. Now, the question is, Bacon, are we going to see any changes in the lineup? Well, we already have Drunyon locked in on the Snorlax. We have Chimmy locked in on the Duraludon. And it does look to me like the orange side, which is now Haunter x Haunter, of course, remember, is sticking with their lineup. Are there going to be any changes, any rebuttals from their opposition here? We already see Pixel moving on to. Well, actually, I think we've had a sub as well. I think we've had a sub here because Pixel.
We have seen a few teams with 6 players lined up because we are sort of in, dare I say, a bit of an off season right now after World Championships. We're getting ready. This is the first real good look at how Fierce Sky Ruins works. I know with all the little extra additions there, the Lucario stepping on in, which I actually think is a better choice than Duraludon. I know you're giving up a bit of range there, which Duraludon offers, but Lucario, I think with the movement abilities, could slip right back on into the meta.
Well, your thing with Duraludon is I know it's a steel type, but it is far from a steel cannon, Bacon. It is a glass cannon. And as much as it's scary being in its firing range, it's not so scary if there is a concentrated push to take it down because the health is not that plentiful. The health is able to be evaporated pretty quickly. We have a stop. Maybe are we still? We might have
that looks like that's a DC right there for Tashi. It'll be called on him pretty soon. Can you bring this to a close, Russ James?
I was just giving it 10 seconds. You never know. It might be a little bit later to load in because some phones and some machines do that. But yes, it's a second mulligan. These players itching to keep us waiting. But it's nice. I agree. I think it's nice to see the Lucario, especially if you're going for extreme speed, close combat. That is an excellent defense mechanism against a Duraludon, given that you get there to deliver the final blow in the first place, and that's where your supports come in, of course, to make sure that you are able to deliver the final blow. So interesting to see whether they actually do stick with those lineups heading into the second attempt to get game 2 underway, whether we're going to see any rebuttal changes from Haunter x Haunter. It's a lot of questions. It's like exam day, Bacon.
For Golducks there, the change was pretty simple. It's just the Greedent off and then bring in that we actually saw the Crustle step on in place. And I feel we're going to see a little bit more brawliness between the two squads. Greedent stopped going off on their own as such. They were getting involved in fights, but it's more that build-up play. Just near enough play, a little bit simpler, because whilst we like these, new and exciting plans, right, they're new. So teams is sort of like not completely in concrete yet. The Greedent plays like invading once we explore it will probably be a thing we'll probably see in maybe like a week's time or so. Actually, no, Greedent's not even going to be available for the rest of the series, are they? Because I think this is the only one with normal types.
So the next one is Psychic types, and the next one is Pink Pokemon.
Yep.
So that means that
No
it's
Greedent.
the only time that you'll be able to select Greedent, which, to be fair, Greedent's kind of become a niche pick anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Again, the tables are turneth, Bacon. It's a new map. It's a new day. It's a new life for all of us, really. I mean,
it feels good.
I'm feeling good. Yeah.
Right, let me.
I can't emphasize how much I love working with this man. Just it gets me at every turn, folks. And by the way, if you are interested, feel free to hit up !Discord, I believe, to find the subreddit.
We don't actually have
commands.
So our lovely Shane is on holiday right now and has control, and I left into this morning because I forgot to do a Nightbot or a Moobot.
Type in Google, right? That's your search engine, and then type in Pokemon subreddit.
I'm sure by this point anyway, James, that we will have Krabs in chat who's going to have posted the link to to the Discord server anyway, or if not, Discord is down below in the about section of the channel, so you'll be able to get in that way, don't worry.
I'm slowly evaporating. I'm back in the Oasis. But the reason why I'm evaporating is because I'm fading out. Look at me go! I'm like a Lord of the Rings transition. I'm fading out into the Thea Sky Ruins.
I just need to set you as refresh whenever we come on in. But let's have a little look at these picks. Same old as last time. Let's say Lucario stepping on in. Snorlax. Let's talk about Snorlax because I feel they've just been pushed out because Slowbro's too good in the meta previously. But Snorlax has always been, for me, the best true defender as such. Because Slowbro's got telekinesis and that to near enough disable a player. But Snorlax with the whole shield to push and zone is so good.
I think pre-nerf Blastoise, might have a
true.
word with you on that one. Pre-nerf Blastoise was incredible. But I agree. I think Snorlax, I think I mentioned it earlier. I think Snorlax is really underrated as a pick. It's not just about the obvious choice, but about the options that you have to choose from, right? Because you've got the shield, as you've previously mentioned. You've got the heavy slam, which is decent for damage dealing. But on the other side of things, you've got my personal favorite, which is Yawn, which is great for those one-on-one engages.
Yep.
Simple stun, and especially if you're looking to do a 2-on-1 team fight, a Yawn can basically end that in a matter of seconds. You've also got effectively the little scurry away as well that can add a little speed to your game. We know that the shield is evidently meta. It's super useful for those now Regieleki pushes. But enough about the meta game. Let's talk about the game that we're in right now. And it's currently an 8-6 lead to Golduck. Not that that matters, of course. But a reminder that the teams have switched side. HXH, Haunter x Haunter on match point scenario.
This was very close right here, because you look towards Voltage, they're hoping with that last score that they would hit 4, and they were the slightest sliver away on XP to be able to get it, and that's why you're able to see Lucario pop a score there as well, and get in and stall out for so long. Looking at this though, looking at both ends, you'll notice the central laner coming on in from Golduck, choosing to go down to that bottom lane this time round.
Yeah, so that's the one switch that we've had. Is in the first game we had very much a HXH going out with the 3-1-1 formation, 3 top lane, 1 jungle, 1 bottom lane. But it seems like both teams now are settling on the 2-1-2. They see the advantage, sure, but only if the jungler is super quick to join the one that is on their own. I think this is more Golduck's forcing the hand of Haunter x Haunter to switch up their game, but that's what Haunter x Haunter's been good at all throughout the first 10 minutes of this series. They know exactly what they want to do, and even if it doesn't work out, they have the ability to change on the fly and make the game suit them.
Oh, look at this coming in from Haunter x Haunter, really knowing the timings of the Altaria in the center. This was just something that Golduck, you can see, didn't really have a knowledge of, like, when do they drop, because that's completely new info which you have to learn.
Jimmy and Blueberry looking for a fight. They're going to get it, and they're going to get it with an extra hand. They're looking to take down Blueberry. Oh, sorry, not Blueberry, Crocodile, I should say. And they do actually do that. And Dunyon again going to try and push the Crustle back. They're going to get 3 scores here. That first zone down to 8 already. And oh, they're going to go after the Crustle. Bless them, Pixel taken off the battlefield with 20 seconds away from Reggie's.
Voltage going to have to let Tashi go there, looking to take down these Altaras. But look at this. Brett looking to step on in, maybe cause a little bit of an issue as the fights go on. 5 seconds is looking like Golduck are fully going in on that new Rotom. The Regieleki, whereas over on the opposite end, they're hedging their bets, you could say, on the lower Reggie, because you don't know what it's going to be until it drops. This time, Reggie Ice.
Hashtag stop the Crustle bullying. Voltage all on his own. But the Reggie's all on its own as well, and it's gone. It's completely gone. The Regieleki is on its way to the Haunter x Haunter base. You're good to have a Crustle up there, but not with 5 people and the Regieleki versus you. So a goal for a goal, tit for tat here, as Golducks find themselves at about an 18-point deficit to Haunter x Haunter. Similar numbers really bacon to what we saw last time. Haunter x Haunter with less of a defensive posture to take, really, because the Regieleki action was over so soon.
So I don't know what's going on, but I can't free cam anymore.
Oh.
So in the past, whenever I've observed for Unite, I've done it on the mobile platform. This is my first time on Switch for ease, and yeah, that's a weird new bug.
I've never seen that. I can free cam on my phone, just saying. Just,
yeah.
You know, humble brag.
It's cool. This is a weird split now, right? Because you look over towards Golduck and they have lost both of their front goals. But I feel that's better for them because the catch-up XP is going to give them so much here because realistically, the score difference isn't that much. And as this fight goes on down below, damn, they're looking to enforce that. They can see they've got to stop them now and take the XP for themselves.
That was not great for Tashi, who was taken out immediately after the ult came crashing down. Vincy Wincy forced back, and as is Pixel, it's not looking good for the two defenders as they're just trying to keep Blueberry and Dunyon at bay. Here comes the reinforcements, but already we're looking at the next set of Reggies setting up in place. Haunter x Haunter, they have got this situation locked down to a T. Are Goldogs going to go up to Reggie Lecky? Yeah, they're not even actually. Oh no, they're
Here they come!
around 180. They've changed their minds. But the question is, have they changed their minds a little too late? Because Duraludon, the Chimmy, is already attacking. Well, actually, he was attacking the Reggie. Now he's not. Now it's all about the team fight. Down goes Tashi. Down goes Lucario. Not looking great for Golducks as Chimmy focuses on the Reggie Ice once again. And look at this wonderful defensive shielding that Haunter x Haunter has given Chimmy. Beautiful team fight here for Haunter x Haunter. They got the Reggie Ice, and there's time to rotate up to Reggie Alecki yet.
Yeah, so we can see already Lucario coming on in from Golducks, looking to actually go straight for the Altaria here, knowing that no one's here. Take that as free XP, just quickly level up a little bit more, wait for the rest of the cavalry, because both sides are coming for this one, apart from the crossfield down below. I was having a quick little look. What are you thinking down there? Leaving the rest of the team alone. They've all got shields. They are beefy, and this looks like an instant win once again.
I gotta say, I was really enjoying the Lucario pick, but Bretmon Chan has been left in the dust. And he is not looking good in terms of those fights. Just isolated horribly whenever he enters the fray. Regieleki goes the way of Haunter x Haunter, and it's a very haunting, ominous look, I should say, for the Golducks right now, who are going to push back the Regieleki. Haunter x Haunter quite content not to push the advantage to take down that second goal, but just in terms of levels, just in terms of composure, looking like the better side. It's not a good look when your entire team, if your Golducks has 3 kills, Malinak, the Aegis over on Haunter x Haunter, has 4 by his lonesome.
It looks like a little bit of indecision here coming on in from Golducks, where they just can't really pick where they need to be. On the opposite end, they're balling up. They're coming on in through near enough as death balls. If you follow Overwatch, the same terminology there. Just huddle up together. 4, 5 players can take down the single twos and then push through. They're not actively going for scores here, are they, James? They're just looking to nullify whatever the side of Golducks can do. Of course, now we will see the Aegis come through with the score, just disallowed by the drop-in, but it don't matter. They're a 2 levels ahead, and that is a massive difference.
Look at Voltage go on the top lane, scurrying away. He scored the 50. He is out of there. We have a potentially final Reggie here on the bottom lane, and once again, Haunter x Haunter. I applaud you for your positioning is beautiful. Your execution is clinical. And now we look towards Rayquaza. No third Regieleki, as we have 10 seconds until Rayquaza, 20 until the Regieleki. And once again, now there are more lanes to cover off here, but they are pushing up massively. They don't even need Rayquaza at this point, Haunter x Haunter, but they would like to get a couple more scores off. The lead is still less than 100.
So you can see coming on through, Brett is looking to get a little bit of an off angle, come around on the side. But again, you can see Haunter x Haunter have everything blocked off, are closing every entrance. They're going for a chase here. Look at this. The Snorlax down at the bottom. Vincy Wincy not wanting to step on in, knowing that, well, they're only there alongside Pixel or Crustle, and they can't really do any damage. They'll wait around, probably come in with the ground pound to get the steal if they can. But that Rayquaza is dropping quick, and it is gone.
Wow. So they managed to score 80 Golducks, but that's still not enough to overturn the Haunter x Haunter number. And it's not looking great, is it, for the Golducks? A valiant cause, but with 3 down, I feel like Blissey is going to quickly follow. Crocodile, see you later, Alligator. That's another 88 points dropped. That's another 100 points dropped, and the advantage for Haunter x Haunter continues. They're going for blood. They're going for the final goal. More points dropped, another 100. Haunter x Haunter forced to surrender in game number 1. I wouldn't be surprised if another one comes through soon.
During the entirety of that last period, you'll notice Pixel, the Crossel coming on in from Golducks, was trying to just snipe. They had a good idea of how many points was still left, but the issue was the level difference. The strength coming on in from Haunter x Haunter meant that the 5v4, even on the top of those goals, even with the extra shields, was too much.
You're absolutely right. And yeah, you can have a look at the levels for yourself, folks. 14s and 15s across the board for HXH. The highest level on the Golducks is 12.
They just don't stop.
It's a full team ace. Extra points. It's the cherry on top of the cake. It is fully baked. It's out the oven. And it is being served to Haunter x Haunter with a 2-0 scoreline in the series. They progress to the semi-finals.
And they are looking good whilst doing it. Commiserations to Golducks, they did play well. We have to put that out there, James. But yes. Haunter x Haunter, to me, just looked like a squad that have come in and done the research. They knew the ins and outs, the spawn times of the maps, and that is a big difference at the early stages of a new arena.
Just look at those numbers. Not just in terms of the dour side for Golducks, who were, as you say, they did really well to score as much as they did, but in the team fights, they never looked competitive. Just pure destruction on the side of Haunter x Haunter. Malinaki and Chimmy both up there in terms of damage, up there in terms of KOs and assists. Once again, Blueberry flexing those recovery muscles, a full 6% over their counterpart in Crocodile over on Golducks. And unfortunately, as much as they did score goals, the Ducks are going to be swimming back home because they are out of the tournament. And for our friends here at Haunter x Haunter, they are going to go on to the semi-finals to face one of Shining Crobat or Black Flames. The last that we heard, Shining Crobat 1-0 up in that series. On the other side of things, Dark Thunder has dropped 2-0 to Bug Bix. We are waiting on the result for Breathing Hammers and Crossel Crew. Breathing Hammers, last we checked in, was 1-0 up in that one. And I think that we might go to that series, actually, Bug Bix and Breathing Hammers for our next match covered, just to see the other side of the bracket, just to check in with these guys and see how they're getting on. I hesitate to say that Shining Crobat will have an easy semi-final here, though, because Haunter x Haunter looked excellent.
Yeah, have Shining Crobat done the homework? We'll have to find out, because we won't know until the finals. We're heading on over to the other side. We're heading to a break as well. We'll see you lot on the other side.
Cigarette ash, it looks like snow. When it falls in the wind, you know. And you, oh you say you wanna dance. You're wary, you know, you'll end up in the wrong hands. And you're having fun. Why don't you show your friends? And you're having fun. What if it never ends? I'm lacking sincerity, but you don't care at all. And this booze, this cigarette's trying to take me home. Falling in love just a million times, breaking it off, put the feeling on ice still. She's as cold as December. I swear I've seen you before, holding your shoes in your hands, running out that door. And you are nothing, but you say you wanna dance. And you're wary, you know, you'll end up in the wrong hands. I'm lacking sincerity, but you don't care at all. And this booze, this cigarette's trying to take me home. Falling in love just a million times, breaking it off, put the feeling on ice still. She's as cold as December. Are you scared? I can see you from behind. You can hear me in your mind. Run so fast as you can go. Time will catch you before you know. Are you afraid of the dark? Are you scared? You know, I am you. I'm coming closer. I will catch you. The time it goes tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Are you afraid of the dark? Are you scared? You know, I am you.
I hope you find what you've been looking for. Trust me, I don't wanna feel no more.
Welcome back, friends! It is time for the subreddit of Pokemon Unite. It's time for the Mint Mori series. It's time for the continuation of the Unite API Cup. It's him, Digital Bacon. It's myself, Relic. I don't even think we introduced ourselves the first time around, but here we are. It's at the semi-final stage, and we have ourselves our next matchup. We're heading from the lower side of the bracket to the upper side of the bracket, and Bugbix will be taking on the Breathing Hammers. That's right, the quarterfinal stage, Bacon. We've built this tournament on sweeps and goals, and whilst Haunter x Haunter enjoy a nice little date with Shining Crobats, who we imagine might very well be favourites to go on and win the entire thing, we shine the spotlight on two teams that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see the newcomers. Of course, it's still a new game. I think I saw somewhere over 75 million downloads across the Switch and the mobile app, so a lot of players with a new Unite. We already know the subreddit itself, whilst not official, you know, is completely community-based. Has got over 160,000 amazing people in there, so it's awesome to see. We've got roughly about 60,000 people in our own Discord here, which is linked of course to that subreddit, and we're loving to see new faces pop on in and join us in tournaments like this. So, you know, shout out to all the people out there at home. Like, thank you, it's awesome.
And it's a good time to join as well, because on October 1st, we are privileged to actually host an AMA with the world champions themselves, Black Hand. It's going to be a really exciting event just for the entire, not just the Discord, of course, that we are linked to, but the whole subreddit itself. So be sure to join the subreddit. Be sure to join the Discord as well for all of your news and reviews on various tournaments and everything Pokemon Unite. Speaking of which, let us focus in on the action. A reminder, if you're just joining us, the point of the Mint Mori series, apart from celebrating the retirement of one of our lovely moderators, is also to give you something of a different Unite experience. Of course, the Unite BattleHub, which we host here, of course, all future editions on this channel, is well famed for its pick and ban system, very unique in the competitive scene. But this time around, Bacon, it is a constriction on what Pokemon you can choose, period. No picks or bans, but way less Pokemon to choose from than the roster of 30 plus as it is now. Only 9 available today. It's got to be a normal bug or steel type.
Yep.
It's a lot of deep defenders, it's a lot of supporters, and it led to a very fascinating first series that we watched where Gold Ducks unfortunately met the end of their tournament run against Haunter x Haunter. We are heading into Bugbix versus Breathing Hammers right now as the picks come through. We saw Lucario at the tail end of the series that we covered here on the channel. Didn't do so great, but we got 2 of them for the first game of this series.
So interesting as well, Wigglytuff looking to step on in over on the Hammer side. Buzzwole looking good as well over on the opposite end. Again, a mon that is in a weird space currently when we're talking about the meta of the game and is overshadowed, but movement capabilities to be able to push, pull, and stop your opponents could be massive here. We already saw that in effect from Snorlax earlier. Buzzwole being able to do a similar effect But with a little bit more damage, who knows, maybe even running Leech Life. We'll have to see how that comes into play.
So in the purple, you have the Breathing Hammers. In the orange, you have Bugbix. And if I'm looking at Breathing Hammers, that is the most defensive lineup that we have seen all day long. Only the Wigglytuff as a supporter / defender. To be fair, it looks like the sort of competitive lineup that I'd expect to see in solo queue. It might very well work out. Then again, we've seen a Blissey and Snorlax bottom lane already this evening, and it was incredibly difficult, nigh on impossible to break through without the Reggie rotation being involved. Let's get underway then. 10 minutes on the clock. A reminder, it is a best of 3. So even if one of these teams loses the first game, there's still plenty of time to come on back, and it is going to be a 2-1-2 split for both teams. Very much what both teams in our previous series decided on come game 2.
And hey, I've got free cam again, so we're all good on that regard.
Hey.
But nonetheless, interesting. Of course, we're always seeing the Aegislash take that central lane, but have a little look at this. Jigglypuff getting a little bit of XP. We see them allowing... who's this in the top lane running the whole way in? Is that Buzzwole up top? No, it's Lucario looking to go in deep in the room, then Jigglypuff taking a little bit of time to pick up the XP afterwards. So a difference in strat there, as that Lucario is definitely stacking, doing Lucario things.
It's attack weight Lucario, isn't it? The two go hand in hand. Jalupo's still not a Wigglytuff stage, and they might fall here. Gets the defense curl out of there. Lying in wait is, of course, the Hone Edge, who's managed to deal a lot of damage, but we've got a Doublade coming in. That's Bugbix's, that's Young Yaban, and we might see our first KO as another attack weight stack comes through from Lucario, from Swift Delty, the Swablu and Altaria coming through on top lane as DI Junkyard looks to be moving out of that one. Delty, Crest, and Jalupo seem to have done pretty well there. The Wigglytuff now on song as Lucario goes back for a little bit more gubbage. And Bugbix quite happy to basically leave Doublade in that top lane, not looking to rotate into the middle or back for more jungle. Actually, now they're, as soon as I say that, Bacon, they're ready to prove me wrong, heading back into the jungle.
Yeah, as soon as I look to take a little step away to the other lane, yeah, they actually get a bit feisty up there on top. This is an interesting point, though. Notice how Lucario coming on in from Hammers seems to have a little bit, dare I say, too much respect for them. Like, Bugbix are allowing Lucario to have a bit of freedom and not really nullifying them as the Altaria step on in for the central lane, and there comes in Lucario looking to knock out. Will the Snorlax survive? Looking to run away. Looking to have a little nap as well. Does heal through a lot of it, but the Stomp not going to come through.
So Wiggly takes out Snorlax. Lucario takes out Wigglytuff. That was a great sing. That was a clutch sing from Wigglytuff, but... they got a little bit greedy. Crest is able to get another score in on top lane. Nothing touched here for the Breathing Hammers on bottom lane. And it is going to be the Blissey Moonjumper Lucario combo. So, of course, Snorlax going on top lane and Young Yaban still roaming, trying to look to help out this bottom lane as the Reggies are 20 seconds away. Really interested to see how the strategies are going to play out here, because with Haunter x Haunter, of course, they prioritize the bottom Reggie first, then Regieleki for the second phase. Right now, it's Bugbix going for a push here. That goal is still not going to go below 80. Oh, the score shield almost got some points through for Cypher. Not on this occasion, as Hammers have got a free top lane. They've taken down the top zone, and that should be Regieleki for the purple team.
Yeah, but let's have a little quick look up there. Regieleki taken, but there is a little bit of an army ready. Is this all just a bait to pull them onto the Regieleki and then go for the Reggie down bottom? You can see they're stuck in jungle right now. They're not looking to push it. Could this Reggie actually just be left alone? No, Duraludon taking a step on in. Couple of little touches there as the Buzzwole looks to occupy Lucario and Blissey, but again, I don't think this is going to be so easy. Lucario is waiting to just snipe this one.
Onyx in the junkyard here. Oh,
Egg bomb!
Lucario exited the scene as quickly as it entered, and Cypher trying to go for the cheeky egg bomb steal. Again, no luck on this occasion, and they are going to go down for their perils as well. Oh, Buzzwole, not so swole. Out the gym you go as Snorlax is taken away. Oh, this is brilliant from the Hammers. They went for a super offensive output here with one supporter, no defenders, and Onyx is on a spree. Damage galore. Are they going to Yeah, they are. Of course they're going to go for the Altaria and the Swablu. It's more jungle. There's a surplus of jungle on Thea Sky Ruins, and Hammers are eating it all up. That is a pretty ominous scoreline at 5 minute 30, 140 Hammers. Bugbix not on the board.
Can we note as well, like we were talking about the new XP buff coming on through on this map, before the 5.5 minute mark, everyone on Hammers is above level 10. That is crazy.
They've played it all super well as we are 20 seconds away from the second Regieleki, and you can look at what this means. The Bugbix are full rotation, and we're still 10 seconds out. The team fight goes in, the Aegis ult is off, and Bugbix, that health is evaporating. The extreme speed Lucario, the stacked Aegis, it is not looking good for Bugbix, who are falling to bits, as that is almost a team ace. If it wasn't for the shorter respawn times, it most certainly would have been. How quickly can they get this Regieleki down? The answer is very quick, but will it be quick enough? Yes, it will be. Second Regieleki goes away at the Hammers.
Right, so Bugbix taking down the Altaria, trying to get a little bit of XP again, jumping onto that Regieleki, but look behind. Here comes the Wigglytuff and Lucario actually stepping away. Are they allowing the Regieleki to just do enough distraction as towards that bottom lane? Having a quick little look down there, you can see the zoning out from Duraludon. Don't allow them near that Reggie still, and they get the buff once again. You look towards Hammer, they have it all right now with 4 minutes left to go.
As if things couldn't get any worse.
Regieleki's still up.
It's still going. I mean, it's not going to reach the goal. I think the Hammers have made their intentions very clear. The Regieleki is there to perish. They're not going to utilize it for its main skill ability, which is of course an instant or near enough instant score. But as if things couldn't get worse for Bugbix, that is a temporary buff to attack and Spatak. Bugbix finally get their first points on the board, but it's only because Hammers was just still rotating up from bottom lane. Once again, their health evaporates. Young Yaban, that's an ult that's come through, and it's barely done anything. They take down the Wigglytuff, yes, and this is mega from itsNorb here, managing to get a lot of health, but it's not enough. Lucario and Aegis, they clean up the shop. The window is closed, and we're into the final 3 minutes.
Sorry, I've got to pull you up on that. Attack and Spatak? Is that what we're calling it now? Like Duff and Spaduf?
Oh no, it's defense and Spadef.
Spadef, alright.
Spadef,
yeah, this is one-sided traffic right here, or one-way traffic, sorry. Here's all on one side of the road, though, and 180 versus 52. On the last map, we always said about 200 points is still reachable. You can still come back, but I feel like just scoring is not as effective on this map as such. Like, you do get bigger regained energy for, XP, but the deficit, people are choosing not to score as much here at the Sky Ruins.
Oh no, I don't know why Snorlax went in so haphazardly. The ult was practically useless. All the ult did was, I guess, give the Regieleki a show of a sleeping Pokemon. To be fair, the team fight thereafter has actually gone really well. A snipe is going to come through though, and that's the third Regieleki. It doesn't matter if they win or lose this team fight now. The damage has been done as Rayquaza enters the field. Bad news, by the way, on the KO front. The entire team of Bugbix has 2 KOs. Everyone on Hammers, 3 KOs, I should say. Everyone but Junkyard has more than 2 KOs, and that is even worse news for Bugbix, because not only has the Regieleki reached their second tier zone on top lane, but the Rayquaza's gone the way of Hammers as well. You can see there, Moon Jumper, and I think that's that's Cypher who's gone with them. They're going to try and score, but it's going to be nowhere near enough because multiple hundreds have been put down by the Hammers. Here comes another 70 from Cypher, but the gap is almost 400, Bacon. And really, even since the very early minutes of this game, you could kind of see which way it was going.
Yeah, Junkyard actually with a fair bit of sustain there, holding up Fremont coming on in from Bugbix, but we can all see the scores. Naturally, the players can't see the scores, but they'll get a feeling of it. Has been a slow little redemption at the end to be able to get up to that 200, but all throughout, Hammers had the lead. Going into the second game, though, as we saw in that last matchup, James, we do expect it to even out a little bit, though, where you're getting a good idea of how to now prioritize the objectives, because that was a little split up as well for that first bout. And then, of course, how your opponent's going to play. How do we counter that with the muted picks we have now? 9 out of the 45 mon in the game. That you've got very minute margins to play with.
There's nothing minute about the scoreline in game number 1 here. Breathing Hammers cruise through with total domination on the Reggies, total domination on the Rayquaza, and total domination by the scoreline. If I'm Bugbix, you fight fire with fire. The big advantage for Breathing Hammers for me, Bacon, was the fact that they had so much damage output. Yes, it was reliant on them winning the early team fights, but they backed themselves, and it's a good thing they backed themselves because they were successful and then some.
Let's take a cheeky little look at the damage there, because I wanted to see this. I was looking over towards Swift Deity, and I was like, did they crack that 100k? How close do you want to get? That is unfair right there. Oh.
Check out the 31.6% recovery as well. Like, the Swift Deity wasn't just dealing the damage. He was involved and much. I mean, we saw, of course, Bretmonchan in our previous series kind of just, be there. And it wasn't that he was doing anything wrong in particular, but the enemy team was isolating him and were able to lock him away from having a big influence on the game. Not the case here. Swift Deity with essentially a free run of the field alongside his Aegis / partner. And as you can see here, there was no point where Bugbix were ahead. They have got to seriously change the game plan to hope to take it to game 3.
So can we have a little look at this as well, as we're looking at the timeline and how this differs from the previous map, right? You'll notice the points come in before the objectives, where it's more about the team fights rather than the objectives themselves, and that's purely because everyone's gathering up. We've seen Regieleki during this match be used more of a distraction, the bait. You've got to forcibly repel him, otherwise he's getting to your goal, and that's going to be more damage and just more of a threat, whilst we then saw Hammers go on over towards the other Reggie. Rayquaza's still Rayquaza though. It's the same as Zap does. Sure, the effect's a little bit different and can be countered, but you're still going to get that spike, and it is still very deciding, sure, but now it is still counterable.
And it was slightly different as well in terms of priorities, because we didn't exactly see a hard push from Breathing Hammers onto either the bottom lane Reggie or Regieleki. They kind of split their deck and hoped that the both hands that they had would be enough to win them the game. And it was. It really was, because the downside of Bugbix not doing that is that you're leaving the other Reggie, which was Regieleki in the first case, open to be taken by the opposition team. And that's why you place your high attacker Duraludon on Regieleki. If you're going to choose one of your players to split off to try and take down the other objective, you get the highest damage Pokemon you've got available, and you hope for the best. The worst that can happen is that it's an opposite full team push, as we saw in the previous series, of course, from Haunter x Haunter, and just try and stall them as long as they can, because ultimately, if it is a full team push, then you're more than likely going to get the bottom lane Reggie first and be able to rotate up in time to, even if it's not in time to save the top goal, engage in a team fight and maybe get some picks here.
So for me, the way that I feel the developers design the two objectives is that you get the bottom Reggie first to have that buff going into the Regieleki fight. That's how I would imagine they decided for it. Yeah. And, you play about that. And it then comes into a case of, do you sack that bottom Reggie if it's, say, the Reggie Ice, because you don't need that HP recovery buff or the speed buff, and you both just go for the top and then that becomes afterwards? Or do you try and play the mind games of, if your opponents going to focus to get the special attack and regular attack buff? Do you try and like snipe the Regieleki quick as possible? I feel like they're allowing for more mind games, and as we go on throughout the weeks, we're going to see those really come into play where, I mean, some teams might not even bother so much with going for Regieleki first, like we've seen throughout the whole of today, and just focus on the bottom buffs to then, I don't know, utilize Regieleki as stop in front of the goal, because we are seeing scoring drop in numbers. Like, teams aren't actively wanting to get rid of both goals straight away.
I think the mind games bit is the biggest thing that I'm going to pick up on there, because I think when we look at the center pit, where Rayquaza and previously Altaria, Swablu, Baltoy / Claydol, where they all spawn, where Zapdos used to be, I think that's a really good metaphor for what Thea Sky Ruins brings, because it's not just effectively four lanes into one anymore. It's 6 into 1. There is more ways to approach that center lane, and there's more ways to approach the meta game. I think you're absolutely spot on. I think that you get the Reggie, and you've got a buff to go up and basically have an advantage in the Regieleki fight. Or you can try and score more. So that if your team loses the Rayquaza fight, there's still a chance that you're going to be ahead, because we don't have that monumental flip that we saw with Zapdos. Then again, you could go prioritize Regieleki, get the scores up, and find yourselves in a more favorable position going into the last 2 minutes. Alternatively, hedge your bets. Send 2 up to 1. Send 3 to the other. Hope for the best. Confuse your opponents. Invade the jungle, why don't you? There are so many options, and there is no clear meta at the moment, Bacon, to decide what is best for your teams, because I genuinely think it is on a team-by-team basis.
And when we're talking about team-by-team, we've got to also look at the Mon that we have currently. Look, I'm going to bring up the poster of the tournaments. Let me bring up the Mint Mori Departure Plus Anniversary event poster, like you can see, so you can see how we're changing things up. Let's just compare the first week to the second week, right, James? And next week, we get a complete and utter difference. We're going to be seeing Delphox in the mix, Espeon, Hooper. I am so excited to see how Hooper changes things up here on the new map, because it's such an incredible distance that becomes, that ability to jump between goals feels even more powerful. We're going to see the introduction of Mew, Mr. Mime after his buff, Slowbro is still very powerful. This feels like the Mage's Playground. That's the subtitle of the Mathcore tournament right there, I feel.
Yeah, that Mr. Mime buff is insane. The Espeon buff, pretty great as well. I'm really
doesn't make them A
to
tier, but makes them feasible now. Like, Espeon is into the mix is a question. It is a choice now.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I always liked Espeon.
Oh yeah,
I think that a lot of the problem is that people kind of mishandled it, because you've got to be real accurate. It's not like Glaceon where it's like load up the missiles and then away we go. It's sort of like you got to place your shot perfectly and then place the next shot perfectly if you're going to go with the Psybeam stored power combo. Anyway, that's next week. And we should mention as well, of course, that the lovely Soph-chan, who you will have known from the Battle Hub as well, she is going to be joining the Mint Mori series. In fact, it's going to be Bacon and Soph casting the Mathcore tournament, so I will be looking forward to watching that in all of my glorious 144p on the sidelines. And then it's going to be myself and Soph covering the last tournament in 3 weeks of fun. Pink. And tell me, I guarantee you, Soph is going to be playing that up to the maximum. It's her favorite color. She loves Wigglytuff, and she's very happy that she has got a buff as we head into game number 2.
Oh, Wigglytuff is probably in one of the best. No, Wigglytuff used to be OP as well, but the state that Wigglytuff is in now is good.
Better than it used to be.
Yes, the Sing is now really, like, it's always been great for crowd control and CC, but now is feasible what with the changes in other mons. And that's where, I mean, we even saw Slowbro take the step in purely because of the changes in other mons as well. So you do notice, like, in games like this with a massive roster, that it might not even be a buff or a nerf to the Pokemon you enjoy playing. It will be to others where your one becomes viable now.
We have the return of the Greedent. And I really do think
Let's
that
go.
Bugbix have remained in their orange, so there's no switching of the colors this time around.
Oh no, I've now got to go change the overlay.
Oh no, well, it's okay. I could talk while you do that.
Please do.
In I not Sorb on the Greedent. I think that's a great choice. We see the Duraludon, we see the Lucario, we see the Aegislash fighting fire with fire. I think it's good to keep the Blissey. It's a different option than the Wigglytuff. I know Wigglytuff is great, but Blissey's great for those heals, and combined with a Greedent, especially on its ultimate run, Bacon, that is a sensational combo if they get it right. And that is the big 50-50 going into game number 2. They need to win early team fights, Bugbix. Otherwise, they're going to find themselves in exactly the same scenario as they did before, falling behind by the 5-minute mark.
Right, I have updated the overlay. We are all good. And into the lobby. Not really that much of a change to the hammers. I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But Bugbix, we'll have to see what they're going to do with the Greedent. At the moment, using them as a top laner, James.
Yeah, combining with the Lucario. So there is a slight change here. Of course, Duraludon going bottom lane to meet the Duraludon that is there alongside the Buzzswole. So again, the offensive output, the offensive chops from Breathing Hammers, we know it very well. And look at Squovert go. That's a very sneaky steal. It's 6 points, but it's also stacking for Squovert heading into Greedent. So not a bad thing, as this is a bad thing for Swift 80 here. Swift 80, one of the best players, arguably the MVP of last game. Very timely entrance from Crest here as Moonjumper has got to jump ship. I Not Sorb is back at base, but they're going to lose out on this middle jungle. I'd keep your cards close to your chest, Bugbix, for the Altaria and Swablu.
Over on that bottom lane, though, you can see a little push up to take the XP that's in the middle. I'm interested to see this as well, where your central laner isn't then going to compete over the XP given in the center. They are purposely leaving it for the bottom and top laners to have as a choice when the big battles aren't going on, because now we've got a massive period of waiting around. Notice how Duraludon and Buzzwole don't want to go and maybe take the jungle away from the doublet because they still need that, even though it's going to be sitting there waiting around for ages. This fight, nullifying your opponent, is a big factor.
I'm sure you saw it flash up on your screens as well. Moonjumper taking down Deity. Unfortunately, Moonjumper's going to pay for it as the Doublade on the other side here. That's Crest. He's going to take down not one, but two. Young Yaban didn't really get into the game as the jungler in game number 1. And although he seemingly had a good effect to be able to give Bugbix some knockouts, still the score not looking favorable, in Swift 80 continuing to build up that attack wave. But good news for Bugbix is at least they are on the board. It took them many minutes to do that in game number 1.
Score already!
Small steps.
They were waiting for the Evo at the same time, trying to be cheeky and just... Oh, it was making me so antsy.
Team fight here is 3 versus 2, but you got to say Bugbix here with the health advantage. Down goes Swift 80. I Not Sorb, though, losing a lot of health here. Crest and Sorb deciding to settle their differences on another day, and it's a good time as well because Reggies are inbound in the next 15 minutes. These Swablu and Altaria are going to go to Crest as well, cleaning up the middle jungle. And I Not Sorb, I can see why he has dived in here, because here comes Young Yaban. Moonjumper, that is not a lot of health. Down he goes, and Crest is going to try and get the Greedent. No, that's another score here. It's another 7. Very inconsequential, though, because he's not going to be in and around the house for Regieleki time, and they're going to go on it immediately, Hammers. Bugbix do have 2 up here on top lane, but it's clear on bottom lane. Regirock gives them the buff.
Yeah, Regirock giving the buff, but that has just been sniped away by Bugbix, and the follow-through KOs are massive. Going to be removing that top goal, and that is a big push. Bugbix, after losing that game 1, remember, James, look now back in action, but this is something we don't see too often, the Flash Cannon Duraludon.
We don't see it often, no. And maybe the element of surprise is going to be something which does aid Bugbix. I certainly think, actually, that although on the early sign of things, the 2 going down on top lane for Bugbix was bad, in hindsight, it was good because then you had a full team push onto Reggie Alecki. They got that first goal down, and this is a much closer game score-wise, at the very least, than what we saw in game number 1. But we have to draw our attention to the Pokemon levels themselves, Bacon. Aegislash for the Hammers already on level 10, but Aegislash for the Bugbix already on level 10 as well. I'm worried about that Greedent, a little bit out of sorts there on level 7. He's going to have to get some jungling himself because look, the health just going down so quickly, and Hammers are going to rule the roost on this bottom lane team fight.
Whilst Bugbix might have got the Reggie Alecki, they have lost this fight and it is given over so much ground. Top goal actually looks like it is still going to stay alive as Young is going to hold off against Swift Deity, but it's requiring... It's requiring the jungler to hold off that top lane. You know, we're seeing a lot of switching of these roles here.
Speaking of switching, we have a rotation down for the majority of the crew, but that's what I thought. Duraludon Schneck going back to base to go and translate that into a top lane push. Looks like I'm Not Sorb going to do that as well. And speaking of pushing, we do have more points scored by Bugbix. Would you believe it? The game, which was a 400-point gap ending in game number 1, as we head into the 4-minute 30 mark, is dead level. Really good work here from Bugbix. Are they going to be able to get the steal? I'm Not Sorb is going to go down, but great steal! Brilliant steal from Schleck there, as that's the second Reggie Alecki for Bugbix.
And you got to think that stopped everyone from stepping out as well. Now they run the Reggie Alecki down the path. It's just Lippo there to hold them off. And I'm sorry, the Wigglytuff might have hands being thrown at them, but they cannot last forever. Nice little turnaround, but they can't leave the Reggie Alecki alone. They have to stop it off. Who's this getting a runaway? Moonjumper being chased, and whilst they're in the central lane, they'll be able to get a bit of HP back. You can see that top goal being left alone, and Junkyard Swift Deity want to get rid of it, but they've only got enough to bring it down to 1.
But that's perfect because it means that when you're looking to get those late scores, it's going to be closer to them. And especially with the way that the Rayquaza buff works, that's actually more advantageous, would you believe it? I guess contextually. What
was that? Oh, I'm sorry, that Unite should have not been thrown there by Moonjumper.
I mean, to be fair, Aurasphere is a bit of a damp squib sometimes. I'm guessing it was just a distracting to get away, but you're absolutely right. It does seem a little bit of a waste. Probably will have it for Rayquaza once we get there. Still a minute or so away, as Hammers are quite happy to sit on their now 80-point lead. Quick maths, Relic strikes again, but I'm still so worried about Sorb here. Level 9 when everyone else on the field is level 10. You want your Greedent to be one of the highest levels, Bacon, of the rest of your team. I fear for them going into Rayquaza as we're, again, 20 seconds away from Reggie Alecki.
I feel that's also part that the Greedent normally focuses on taking the jungle, whether it's like taking your own jungle when it's in a bit of downtime for the main carry, or you go and take your opponent's jungle to just remove their chance of grabbing it. Whereas Sorb hasn't been spending that time there. It's been mainly in the top lane. We have seen them take a little step down into that central area every now and then, but Sorb just feeling a little bit out of place, maybe in a role that they're not used to.
Duraludon's been given all the time in the world to eat away at this Reggie Alecki, and there is no steal this time for Schleck. Yes, that was intentional. I promise it wasn't a flub. And oh my word, that wasn't a flub either. Crest with almost the ace. It's the quadra kill, which means that Rayquaza, all that's stopping Hammers from getting it is a lone Blissey. It's Cypher. They're gonna have to wait their turn and hope that their egg bomb is excellent. It wasn't. Hammers have got the Rayquaza, and away they go. How much are they gonna score? How are Bugbix gonna respond? We're gonna have to wait and see, because Bugbix have at least spawned back in time to prevent some of the potential badness. Badness for them is that Reggie Alecki was on top lane. It's a free 100. It's a second 100. It's a third 100. Hammers making this as dominant a scoreline as we saw in game number 1.
But Bugbix now with, well, all the members pretty much still alive, bar the Blissey, might be able to turn this around if they can run it down towards their opponents, and we'll see Sorb look to try and drop in the 40. Here comes the buzzword,
nice.
but a little bit too late to the action, but it's still not enough. They've got to get everyone potting here because that is such a massive margin. Just under 360 points.
Aegislash goes bottom lane, and Aegislash is going to not score because Duraludon and Wigglytuff are down there. We need to take a little look at bottom lane because this is where the big push is going to happen. This is where the outer zones are, and that's a couple of ults coming through. Young Yaban hitting the shield, and there goes Crest with a sword slash of his own. Cypher unable to get the Rayquaza. What on earth was that? Crest and Cypher unable to get a score. It's still 350 points away, and Sorb goes down as well. That was a spirited push from Bugbix, but it is a push which has lost all of its spirit in the end. Breathing Hammers throw the mallet to Bugbix with a 2-0 sweep there into the finals.
It has been a great match for the Hammers. We just take a little bit of a look around, a bit of dead time now. Have a little look at the river underneath. James, Bugbix really bought it back in this second one. We have to say right up until, what, about 3 minutes remaining, they were well and truly in contention. But that last play, Hammers take a bow.
You gotta say, excellent Regieleki steals.
Yep.
Prioritizing it, making sure that the scores were down, basically doing everything which I suggested they do. But unfortunately for them, Breathing Hammers were able to step it up once again. 15 takedowns for Crest and 15 assists for Jalupio. That Wigglytuff buff, it's the Wigglytuff diff, Bacon. That is what
you don't want to catch them hands. Damn.
You do not want to catch them hands because them hands slap. And it's a real slapping of a series here. Again, commiserations, of course, Bugbix making it to the semifinals. Very credible in its own right. But the Breathing Hammers heading to the finals where they will face one of Shining Crobat or Haunter x Haunter. The series has gone to game 3, Bacon. It's going to be our first and only best of 3 going the distance to date.
So, we get a little look at the timeline as well. We did have a look at the timeline of the other series. It's gone to that game. It has gone to that game 3, but what's that all about?
We will not see Shining Crobat in the finals.
No! They have been dethroned from finals.
They caught the Flowers twice, and unfortunately, the Flowers have eviscerated right in front of their very eyes. Third time was not. In fact, third time was the anti-charm. And Haunter x Haunter are going to get a second appearance on stream as they go up against Breathing Hammers. Now, we were looking at Haunter x Haunter versus Golducks, and we're thinking, man, they played really well. Golducks were playing good. Haunter x Haunter stepped it up a notch. They were really great. That is a big marker to beat an established BattleHub finalist twice. Time of asking. Haunter x Haunter for me, favorites going into the finals, but given how good Breathing Hammers looked, is it going to be the best of 3 going the distance on stream? I can only hope so, Bacon.
As can I. New names have joined us here on the Unite BattleHub stream and within our tournaments, and it's going to be cool to crown new champions. You guys will have to tune in after this break, though, for the Haunter x Hammer finals.
Think about it, ring won't tell you what I saw. When you break it off, you'll see who had it all. You had it all. You said you wanted to fall into oblivion. Forget about the world we're living in. Fall into oblivion, oblivion. Oh, go in. Fall into oblivion. Into oblivion. Forget about the world we're living in. Fall into oblivion, I'm going in. You can't fall asleep when you're counting stars. Get it together. Your mind can't sleep when you let it serve. But now you wanna see me fall. From a quarter mile, I can see you at the call. Think about it, ring won't tell you what I saw. When you break it off, you'll see who had it all. You had it all. You said you wanted to fall into oblivion. Forget about the world we're living in. Fall into oblivion, oblivion. Oh, go in.
Hello, folks. Welcome back. It's finals time here for the Mint Mori series, Unite API Cup. He's Bacon, I'm Relic, and the teams in front of us are Haunter, X-Haunter, and Breathing Hammers. Shining Crobat, the favorites going into this, at least by BattleHub methodology. They're gone. They dropped in the only best of 3 to go the distance so far. They're the people who beat them. They were Haunter X Haunter, so that gives you an idea of just how good they actually are. I think we've got a great series to round off the evening.
Oh yeah, we've been able to see Haunter X Haunter as well in the first match of the day, so it almost feels like, you know, a scripted final, doesn't it? Because we've got the most knowledge coming into this one. But where is a new map? We've got very little knowledge because, again, not only new map, like we said, very limited teams, and you can only pick from 9 mon, you know, 5 aside. You are pretty much kind of very close, but it's a good way to learn a new map because it's a smaller field to learn from. Makes strategies, dare I say, a little bit easier and simpler. And as we've let the players know they can hop on in, we are getting started. So for the last time this evening, for the last series anyway, because it is another best of 3, James, we can see what these teams are going with, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see the same mix-up from Hammers, because that was such an effective act.
No Pokemon have been left on the bench. If you are just joining us, normal, steel, bug type, that is your constriction for what you can pick. And there has been none of the 9 left on the bench. Every single Pokemon has been picked. In the purple, we have ourselves the Breathing Hammers. In the orange, we have ourselves Haunter X Haunter. And Haunter X Haunter going for that Blissey Snorlax combo on bottom lane, I imagine, with Malinaki going into the middle lane, Chimmy, and Rename Card, one of their subs, heading into the top lane, I imagine. Swift Deity was excellent on that Lucario, of course. Onyx and Crest, excellent on the Duraludon and the Aegislash, but it was the Wigglytuff diff that we were talking about in their victory, Bacon, over Bugbix. Jalupio is certainly not one to be trifled with. We're keeping an eye on them as we head into game number 1.
The interesting thing for me here, James, is that there is actually a decent difference between these two squads. You're only seeing the Aegislash and Duraludon being the mainstays, the same for each squad, but where will the differences come on in here? Because I can see Crustle and Buzzwole acting in similar roles, but the Snorlax coming on in board is an interesting one for me. So let's get this underway.
As we expected, Junkyard and Onyx heading to the bottom lane for the Hammers. And I imagine we'll see, yep, there is the Jigglypuff going into the jungle. It is what we've become well accustomed to with the Hammers. It's a very interesting strategy to share the jungle, but it is not outside the realms of possibility, of course. Something to be discussed, as there is plenty more jungle to go around on Thea Sky Ruins, as Rename Card is going to sneak by and maybe pick up a couple of these Natu. Swift Deity forced back to base, and in comes Melanaki, and he's going to pick up the Baltoy, maybe take down Jalupio. He's going to force him back to base at the very least, as we have no overloads as of yet. I think really we're just waiting for the Duraludon here for HXH to come up to top lane. We do have an overload on bottom lane, but it's kind of come to nothing as well, as both parties split apart.
Yeah, both parties just giving each other a little bit of space and time. As we do see that Aegislash and Duraludon start going for that central farm, but no, a lot of spacing. You can see Swift Deity just keeping an eye on this top lane, waiting for the Altaria to step on in. It looks like they're trying to get the snipe, but that's 3v1, and that's a big advantage coming off from Haunter x Haunter.
Yeah, unfortunately, Crest and Jalupio are a little bit late.
Crest!
They got the double KO, though. Crest had 14 KOs, I think, in his last game, and he's already going to open up with 3. Brilliant play from the Doublade.
I need to correct you, because you got to respect the Crest. It was 15 KOs and 15 assists
15.
to that Wigglytuff right there. The combo is powerful.
They know what they're doing. They might be sharing jungle, but sharing is caring in the new map meta. At least if the early signs are to go by. Breathing Hammers, the momentum very much with them. Of course, Haunter x Haunter have come off a longer series, so we can talk about the theoretical. Maybe they're a little more tired. All of this middle jungle going the way of Haunter x Haunter, though, and that's going to be important as they look to stack up before the Regis drop.
Now with this push towards the top lane to maybe look at that goal, but no. Still again the respect. They will step on over as Swift Deity we have seen been powerful in the past. Just look to hold them up. In the end, Sim can't really take much of that. Locked in place by Rename Card, but it's not really going to be too much of an effect. Swift Deity just looking, trying from range stop Chimmy.
You can see the moment where the communication was happening, because Chibi was staring at that goal and staring at the Lucario for a long time, didn't do anything, and it's like, see you later. All of this middle jungle going to go to Crest and Jalupio. Rename Card's going to try and get the Altaria, which I believe that he does. Are they going to be able to get back to base? Just about, as the rotation's coming through for Hammers. They're prioritizing Regieleki and Haunter x Haunter. Well, they're kind of going for a split push here, but the bottom lane Reggie is all to themselves if they want it.
So Rename Card has told the rest of Haunter x Haunter that, okay, they're going fully Regieleki here. You can go take the bottom Reggie. But it's interesting to see, again, this change. We're so used to the bottom lane being the more important lane when it comes to objectives, not being the case anymore. And they all look to even steal away this farm. Look at that from Swift Deity.
Oh, dear. Big uh-oh here, because Regieleki's gotten through the first zone unaffected. He's onto the second zone, and he's looking at it. He's thinking, oh, that's my lunch. Here comes Rename Card again to try and stop the push while it happens. Hammer's quite happy to just let it be the distraction. We saw this as a tactic employed by them multiple times in the previous series that we witnessed in the semi-finals. The Reggie on bottom lane did indeed go to HXH, and so this is going to help them in that Regieleki push back. The scores as they land Bacon after the first set of Reggies, 90 to 122. Anybody's guess as to how this one's going to turn out.
Interesting as well, this time around, Hammers not, whilst for the first drop of the Altaria in the center, didn't really care about them. The second time, it is theirs, nice and free. Swift Deity, not really giving a care there. Blueberry might look to close them on in. This looks good to be a 3v1. Not going to be allowed on out. Swift Deity now. They have got to be panicking.
Oh, gets away with it just about. Swift Deity. Jalupio looking to put them to sleep, and somewhat successful. Managed to sing one under sleep. Here comes the
Oh,
Aura Sphere.
that's
Through
great.
two. Oh, that's big damage. But the ult from the Duraludon. My tongue's in a twist because it's a great play from Crimmy. And down goes the top zone for the Hammers. HXH still not ahead on score, would you believe? But only 6 points away from tying the game.
Right, with the new changes as well, your Unite move doesn't give you as big a buff afterwards. It's more about the impact of that initial burst, and Duraludon's Zoner effect and damage are incredible, and Chimmy is putting that to full use.
Oh no, oh no, oh no, the ults come out, and
Chimmy's
it's not
got
gonna last
the
long.
Unite again?
Jimmy is ridiculous, but it looks like the Hammers are going to come back. The extreme speed coming through for Swift Deity. Through comes Cress. Big damage from both sides. Down goes Wigglytuff. I think down goes, Blissey as well. And HXH win another team fight. But will they get the Regieleki? Because here comes Onyx once again. So quickly was he ejected from the fight that he's been able to respawn and get back into place. But it's 1v3. Jalupio still so far away. Regieleki looking good for Haunter X Haunter, and it is.
So Jalupio just going to have to take a step back, but we have to be talking about the Unite move on the Duraludon there. Full play to Chimmy to be able to get it on back so quickly. Remember, folks at home, emblems are not in play here. When it gets to comp Unite, emblems aren't a thing to keep it all even and level across the board. So that is got to be, a crit scope, and I don't know what you're using there to reduce the cooldown of the Unite.
Hammers
It's
get
got to be the amplifier.
It might very well be the amplifier, certainly amplified now with the stats from the Registeel attack and special attacks. So the Hammers at least in the ascendancy for any team fights that may transpire from here. But it looks like both sides quite happy to go back, lick their wounds, and maybe score some more jungle. Of course, in the top lane, it's a little bit more complicated here. The politics on a different level as it's 3v1, and Malakanaki, I think, very rightly so, moving away and deciding to live for another day. We're into the final 3 minutes or so now in what has been an exhilarating first matchup between Hammers and Haunter x Haunter, exactly what we were hoping for. Hammers in the lead, of course, by just shy of 40 points. That all could still change with one set of Regis and indeed Rayquaza left on the table.
Again, another ball up on that top lane. Let's have a little fly on in there because a battle is brewing. You have got 3 coming on in from Hammers and all 5 from Haunter x Haunter. But again, that respect, knowing to just take the step away, Hammers are wise.
It's the full send on Regieleki, and why not? There's no second Reggie on bottom lane to come. Crest caught out a little bit here. The big slam coming in from Snorlax. He's going to get that shield down. Meanwhile, it's all not looking so great for Buzzwole. Down they go, as once again, the Aegis/Diff coming through from Malinaki, the captain of the team for me, leading from the front, getting super important picks. It's a 2 KO streak. We're now looking at Swift Deity here. The fluffy tail on the Regieleki. It just destroyed in a matter of seconds. And now that's an excellent distraction for HXH as they move into the center pit.
And here you go, Rayquaza already down to half health pretty much before the team fight starts. So many Unites being thrown out left, right, and center. Both Duraludons as well, so tons of damage being left for the two teams. Who takes the Rayquaza? We do not know. Oh, it's gonna be the Crustle from Haunter x Haunter to turn things around.
You could just see the members dropping one by one for Hammers. The team fight of just running away from them. And look at this, running away from them is the game. Haunter x Haunter, they were behind for most of it. Close, yes, but behind. And that Rayquaza ended up being the stick that broke the camel's back, so to speak. Haunter x Haunter, 1 win away from winning the UniteAPI Cup.
So close, they can smell it. But once again, this is interesting for me, James. We've seen Crest, again, topping on the number of KOs. We've seen Jalupio take the most assists on the opposite end. You're seeing a very similar story, but coming on in from Blueberry on that Blissey, and then, of course, Chimmy with the Duraludon plays. I think everything relied upon Chimmy in this match to really set up the zoning. Rename Card was a great stall player, don't get me wrong, but Chimmy had the most impact, I feel.
I'm going to disagree with you.
Go
I
on.
think Malinaki, for me, I know that it's very easy to look at the MVP award and the 9 takedowns and the 6 assists and say, well, of course you'd say it's Malinaki. But Malinaki's choice of engagement,
Yes.
when I say he leads from the front, that's exactly what we saw from Haunter versus Haunter in their quarterfinal match. He led the way and said, oh, like you could see it was him communicating and saying, right, we're going here. And we're not going to deviate from this plan, because if we do, we're going to be splitting our bets, and that's not where we're strongest. We are strongest in team fights, and so it proved to be. Slight incorrect fact calling from me. You can see there that there was actually a time where Hammers were behind, but nevertheless, it was a really, really impressive comeback, I feel, from Haunter x Haunter, who just played those final couple of minutes, the final maybe 3 minutes or so, perfectly, zoning out Oryx, for example, who, as chat rightly points out, had his ult cancelled midway. It wasn't a super quick reinitialization of its ultimate. It was just cancelled, and so able to use it, but not to much great effect. So brilliant work from Haunter x Haunter. Can they carry that into a second win? I think it's going to be a lot more difficult than a lot of the matches that we've seen today.
Yeah, if we timed out actually the lobby there, and well, it'd be interesting to get on in. We're gonna have to leave this one. Let me drop the in-game sound, and players realizing that themselves will just stand around. Don't you worry, folks. But I was interested there because you can see that we're starting to see in this game that it's not about the big objective fights anymore. It's purely on team fights, because there, as you could see with the timeline, the actual objectives didn't really have any change to the game. You sent the Reggie Alecki near enough to stall out your opponent. It's not about getting those goals. It's not about realistically scoring there. It's about winning big group fights, which is a big change up, because the flow naturally meant that you followed the Rotom previously. You know, you followed all the way to that bottom Dreadnought fight. Now where teams are trying to figure out how to take this, it's all a little bit discombobulated, which then means the biggest factor is the factor that's always going to be consistent, and that is 5v5, or if you're lucky, a 5v4, and you've got that one-man advantage.
See, we can say for all we like that the Reggie Alecki is the most important Mega Jungle out there right now.
Yep.
But I think what this tournament has proven, and of course, it may change completely when all Pokemon are on the table and you have stuff like Hooper, for example, who can change the game up significantly, especially on this battlefield now. But nevertheless, I don't think that the Reggie Alecki buff, at least in the eyes of these players and the set of players that we're dealing with right now, is that significant a difference away from the Reggies on bottom lane to worry about it too much. Of course, you know, when we talk about Dreadnought fights in the previous meta, it's all about making sure that the team goes down first and then you focus Dreadnought. It's less of a major issue when it comes to Rotom, because Rotom's less powerful in terms of dealing damage to you, and you can defend it pretty easily if you're rotating back up onto top lane. Now there are so many more options, and so the safest bet to hedge your bets, so to speak, is to make sure that the enemy team doesn't have as many Pokemon on the field as you do at that time to weigh the odds in your favor. I think it's a fascinating discussion of where the meta is going, and I can't wait to see if we're proven right here by our observations heading into game number 2 and hopefully game number 3, fingers crossed.
Well, the thing is as well, we're going to be able to see the meta grow. You don't get me saying meta, it's meta. Wazzock. We're going to be seeing it grow in a weird sense throughout these tournaments, because the free that we got here, like I said, thankfully put on by Mario himself, we're going to be able to get in different lights and near enough throwing teams into different angles to come up with new things. There will be more stuff coming down the line, which will be more traditional in a comp sense, don't you worry, folks, and that will be once everything's been sorted out. We were worried with the new map, but face it, we didn't even know. We were there going, right, is the old map, we thought the old map would still be in play, right, and that would be still the comp map, and when we were designing this, we were like, we want to be in Thea Skyrims, we want to be on the new map, and then it was just by luck that this is the only map in the game at the moment. The old one has been removed, it has been yeeted into the abyss.
Not going to miss that, those. Not going to lie to you. By the way, switch of teams. So Malinaki and Haunter X Haunter heading into the purple side. And
James is just saying that so I make sure that I change the teams on over, by the way.
Not only that, but I'm stuttering because I'm like, what's going on? I think we're just waiting for the breathing hammers. I think that's all we're waiting for on this lobby to get going. Of course, breathing hammers, I think, entitled to just a little bit of a quote-unquote tactical timeout to
a breather, if you will.
A breather, if you will, to try and hammer out some details on how they're gonna tackle game number 2. Because it's interesting. Like, I was so impressed with their bombasticness. The fact that they chose basically the 4 Pokemon that were the biggest damage dealers and just chuck a Wigglytuff in there. Works for them really well in the semi-final, and I'm sure that's what happened in the quarterfinal as well. Not so much here. Are they going to have to get, dare I say it, a little bit more defensive just to try and round up the average team health pool to give themselves a fighting chance?
Well, let's again. I'll bring back the card, if you will, with all the info on it. Who do we have as an option? Blissey, Crustle, Lucario, Wigglytuff, Aegislash, Greedent, Snorlax, Ralladon, Buzzwell. Defenders, if you're saying you want to bring that on, Snorlax and Wigglytuff alongside Blissey. That you know, because we're just basically saying we're adding on a Blissey to the Wigglytuff Snorlax combo we've seen in the past. To me, that feels a little bit too much. The same with Crustle in the mix there. I want to see maybe a Lucario, Aegislash, and Ralladon combo. I think Buzzwell at the moment isn't worth putting in the mix here. I don't think Buzzwell works with the selection in play.
I love it when we're on exactly the same wavelength. I agree with you. I think Junkyard was pretty great at stalling.
Yep.
And did a pretty good job overall in the semi-finals on that Buzzwole. I think that he was probably the most anonymous player on the field in game number 1. And so switching it up to something like a Greedent, or maybe countering with a Snorlax, I think gives him different options. The Greedent, of course, can get away and stall in a different way to Buzzwole. I think Snorlax is probably the better pick for me, just to try and help with pushes, give themselves a shield, give themselves a bigger health pool. I mean, goodness, Snorlax's ult, I realize it's not the most damage dealing in the game, but goodness me, can it soak up damage? And in a series where team fights have been their biggest problem for the breathing hammers, I think that a massive health pool distraction like that will be a massive boon to at least give them time to recharge and re-energize.
I think as well, if we haven't seen it already, because I've seen on a few of the mons, Buddy Barriers, I think, will be quite powerful with that, because Unites are feeling very much, they feel sped up, where I don't know, it's just something on a subconscious eye test sort of deal, right? Where I feel we're getting maybe one Unite from each mon in the game, but that's been stacking up, and so Buddy Barrier, will give a bit more sustain plus a bit more use because you're getting more of it. But so far, we're starting to see as well the power of the Unites themselves, like we saw from Drowdon. You said about Snorlax there. Otherwise, who has the biggest Unites? Whilst Greedent doesn't particularly have an insane Unite move, right? It's that bit of movement, and it also takes them out of play. It gives them safety for the 2 to 2 seconds that their animation takes place.
It gives you the quick recharge / sustain on their main ability as well. Belch or Bullet Seed, either one is going to do heaps of damage if utilized correctly in conjunction with the Unite move. So we're just awaiting the players giving the go-ahead. I think we're very close to our game number 2.
Yep.
But yes, I would predict the Snorlax over the Greedent, but I think the Greedent would be a very legible choice, honestly, based on what we saw. Drunyon, of course, on the Snorlax. I predicted that Haunter probably ain't gonna switch up. Again, you said it best. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But it looks like Junkyard is gonna stay on the Buzzwole. In fact, it looks like we're gonna have exactly the same combination of both teams.
Yeah.
Junkyard stalling, though. Is he having to think about whether to mix it up?
Well, look at Drunyon as well. Oh, they were stalling up for a second. Milaki, I don't think is going to go for anything else. Aegislash is just the hardest hitter out of any of the mon in play right now. You know, we've said about the possibilities of Lucario, but pound for pound, if you want someone in jungle, Aegislash is your only realistic choice, I'd put now. I know you can put Duraludon there, but you don't want to. Aegislash is the one.
Same goes for Crest as it does Malinaki. Aegislash is the most meta of the Pokemon available. Yes, you can look at Blissey. Yes, you can look at Lucario, but Lucario's a niche pick, and Blissey has had a nerf recently. So for my money, Aegislash, especially in this context, definitely the one to go for. So it's same teamsies for both teamsies heading into game number 2. Probably worth saying that this might be our final game of the
Possibly.
day. So get hyped in chat. Let's see as many emotes as possible, and let's get started with another 10 minutes on the clock. Of course, both teams swapping sides, and it's all about those early engages. Who's going to build up the biggest rapport, or the biggest repertoire of moves, and the biggest rapport, I should say, in terms of levels? Well, we'll wait and see.
I don't like a Duraludon in the jungle. I just said it, and now Chimmy. I've been praising Chimmy for the entirety of the last game, but no, that's not the change-up we wanted to see. Up here, though, rename card, and of course, Malaki doing great damage to Swift Deity, removing them. No stacks for you, sir. Be gone. Jalapa is left all on their own to defend that net, but Malaki going to be able to get off the stack? Perhaps? No. Invincibility to be framed? No. With 3 score left, it will be the Jigglytuff slapping them down to the ground.
I love that there's the Jigglytuff as well, right in the involve as Chimmy's put to sleep. Great pushback.
This is ridiculous.
Flawed with this Jalupio Wigglytuff plan to go into the jungle. It just takes a little bit too long. Like Swift Deity, that was an unnecessary down from them, I think, where yes, they've been able to get away with it slightly because it's equal for jungle and looks pretty bad for Crest here. Goes back in, tries to get a bit more damage, but this is very much Haunter X Haunter, a bit of attack weight here for Swift Deity, but it is all Haunter X Haunter. And although Hammers have the points lead, trust me, it won't be for long. That is 48 down on the table.
And down in that bottom lane, that's a bit of a funny situation. Let's take a little look at that as we get a little look at the Snorlax. Nothing going on. This is another case where both teams are very respectful in the bottom lane, where they're not looking to, I wouldn't say take advantage of one another, they're just not wanting to risk it. It's as simple as that. We're seeing the weight of the top lane, and so you don't want to cause any issues on the bottom lane where you can gain an advantage, or give, advantage to your opponents, to which at the later points of the game will rear its ugly head.
Oh, Swift Deity's not going to get away from this one. Not for long. Not if Duraludon's got anything to do about it. Chimmy, listen, I know you don't like Duraludon in the jungle. When utilized correctly, it is excellent. Down goes Crest. Another great team fight situation here for Haunter X Haunter. For the umpteenth time, we say that. As Jalapio Sama, well, we might be saying so long as the health continues to go down, just about staying in there with the muscle band. Finally goes down from Malinaki, and this is all Haunter X Haunter for the Altaria and Swablu, 15 seconds away from Reggie's.
This is also very smart there. Chimmy and co saw that Onyx is running Flash Cannon, so just step out of range. That's all you got to do. Very simple counter.
Onyx here gonna just wait along with Crest. All the damage dealers on top lane for Regieleki. Rename card here along with Malinaki, so at least the Aegislash is there for Haunter X Haunter. It's a fearsome 4 here, looking to go get Regieleki. In goes the steal potential! Ooh. And the steal potential comes through! Malinaki, you can't stop him! He won't be stopped! Well, he will be stopped there, but Rename card's going to continue his dirty work. Pushes Onyx all the way back to base, and well, the damage has been done. Regieleki is going to be held at the zone, and guess what? Haunter X Haunter, the news gets better. Regirock is theirs.
Oh, and what a play by Rename card to push the Duraludon out of reach. The Shell Smash trying to chase down Jalapa as well. They'll have to let them run, but that was massive.
His full title is Rename Card Plus, and that was most certainly Plus Ultra. Oh my word, I said dirty work, but that was pure cheek from Rename Card. And look at the score gap that's already emerged. 220 to 22, both front zones down. for the Breathing Hammers. Haunter x Haunter came here to play, they came here to win, and their credentials are there for everyone to see.
A little bit cautious, maybe too cautious for Malecki there. Had 2 Mon really low and let them walk and, well, respawn back to base. We'll have to take a little bit of a weird line as they do want to go in for that score. Jalepi up to level 8 now, but the whole of Hammers are trailing behind and they will look to turn this around. We're just coming up to the halfway mark.
Still 5 minutes to try and rescue something, but look at the number of level 10s and the level 11. Jimmy continues to grow in dominance, and Haunter x Haunter look at a junkyard as if it's a scrap heap ready to be thrown into the metal compactor. The ult comes through from Snorlax. There's the tankiness that we were talking about, and still rename card is up. Onyx and Crest. That's a big team win. Swift Deity forced back here as Jimmy enters the scene.
Melted.
It's 3v1 and he's going to be destroyed, as is that first tier zone. Hammers with a big win, but they're going to lose Reggie Alecki potentially with Aegislash and Blissey up there already.
I don't know. Here comes Junkyard ditching Altaria, looking to jump on in, waiting for that SmackDown opportunity, but it is the Blissey of Blueberry to get that confirmation. And they will be able to run that Reggie Alecki the whole way, looking towards that bottom lane though. Don't see, I think that's the Reggie Rock by that color. Reggie Steel, thank you very much.
So that's the attack and spatak buff here for the Hammers. So at least they've got that going for them. Oh no. Oh no, it's the prison complex here for the Snorlax and the Crustle. As another KO here from Crest on his opposition Aegislash. And Reggie Alecki's going to go no further. 220 to 137 now. The score looking a little bit more respectable and recoverable for the Breathing Hammers.
Yeah, they're starting to bring themselves back into this one. But that comes down again to those catch-up mechanics, where there was so many KOs on to Haunter x Haunter, they gave so much XP for them to catch up on.
Haunter x Haunter, they're now hunting X hunting, and they smell Breathing Hammers, blood in the water. There goes Duraludon, Crest staying in the jungle, waiting for the moment. And speaking of jungle, Haunter x Haunter, while they're here, they're going to pick up the Bog-Off deal. Buy one, get one free. Plenty of jungle for all to go around, and they're going to be selfish and steal all of it. Junkyard and Crest going in. It's 2v3 though, because here comes Blueberry. It's 2v4 now, because here comes Card! And it's a big KO streak here for the Haunter x Haunter crew. Swift Deity stepping in a little bit too late, a little bit too short a dollar. Him and Jalepio stepping back as we're 25 seconds away from a third Reggie Lecky.
It got a little bit scary for Haunter x Haunter. They look to be starting to slip away from having the lead, but no. They double down, they put 2 hands on the hill, and they are ready to regain. Rayquaza will drop in 36 seconds. There is enough time for another Reggie Alecki. And well, this is fully stacked in Haunter x Haunter's favor as the rest of the team from Hammers are coming on through. But one by one, they will be dropped.
You could see the moment. You could see the moment where Onyx and Junkyard are like,
uh-oh.
Probably not going to get the Reggie Alecki, are we? No, indeed. It's going to go to Haunter x Haunter. Everything now falls on this Rayquaza play. Junkyard is in place, as is Onyx. Swift Deity not on a lot of health. And Crest has been blocked against the wall. Oh, my word. A clutch Wigglytuff ult saves him for a moment. But 3 are down. Is it going to be 4? Surely. Yes, it is. Is it going to be the full team? Haunter x Haunter. That is how you sign yourselves off as champions of the Unite API series.
Sheer and utter dominance for that last fight. They have earned that crown, the first Mori Series champion. They will be taking the Unite API crown. And well, what a way to do it, Relic.
There has not been a Battle Hub or Battle Hub adjacent event where the finals has not been a 2-0 streak. But Bacon, this second game might have been one of the most dominant that we have seen in this fashion. And here I was thinking that in Breathing Hammers, we had something of a resurgence mid-game. nowhere near close, because Haunter x Haunter had they were on another planet, let's be real. 14 assists, 9 KOs, rename card, absolutely MVP for this grand final.
I completely agree with you. Rename card. Whilst I was singing the praises of Chimmy, you're about Lucky in that first game. Game 2 is being renamed to rename card on that MVP. We've scrubbed out the etching on the trophy, on the badge, and we're putting a new name because rename card plus was something else. It was a beautiful display from the Crustle.
Haunter x Haunter, not just a punny name. Watch out for these folks in the bubble scene. I imagine they might be here to stay for the long term. Of course, commiserations to Breathing Hammers, who put on a great 2-0 sweep of their own on stream. Great to see them. Certainly flickers of hope, but not enough flickers to light the candle. But the fire has just started burning here for the Mint Mori series, where we have 2 more events coming up for you in the next 2 weeks. Bacon, tell me about them.
So, as we bring on over the graphic in a very simple manner, all I've got is the picture on up. You can head on over to Discord to get all this information and even more Discord about what we're bringing in the future. So, for the next 2 Saturdays, very simple, we'll be doing more of these themed tournaments. Next Saturday, we've got the Mathcore tournament, the Mathcore Cup, where we are using only Psychic and Electric type Pokemon as chosen for the Mathcore server Cup, and where you can see the selection there. We will be having Mew in the mix. Mew currently a free month to grab, but you have to do all those mural challenges, so perhaps players will just go choose to buy Mew and practice quickly their relic, or they will grind it on out, because all the licenses are currently free and usable in the game, aren't they, from next week?
Yes, they are, since it's that time of the month once again. And I should mention, I'm so looking forward to Mr. Mime. That boy got a big buff in the recent update. I don't think there has been a single solo queue game where I haven't seen a Mr. Mime, but it's almost a dichotomy here with the tournament that we just witnessed. Whereas this tournament is very defender and supporter heavy, this very attacker heavy. Mew, or speedster heavy, I should add as well. Mew, Pikachu, Zeraora, Espeon, Delphox, great range of Pokemon to choose from. Really only Slowbro and Mr. Mime as your defensive options, but let's talk about Hooper as well. One of the Pokemon to pick in the competitive scene. Going to really open up the Thea Sky Ruins to even more possibilities in regards to rotation and prioritization of the Reggie question. Still seems to me unanswered. There's really loads of ways to go about it. But that will be a question answered, I would hope, by you and Soph. You two are going to be the ones covering the next tournament. I'm going to be taking the week off, and I'm going to be enjoying myself very much so. I'm also going to be enjoying myself reading up the Black Hand AMA that's happening over on the Pokemon Unite subreddit. 1st of October. Put it in your diaries. Be sure to join the subreddit, and be sure to check out the Discord as well, where all sorts of tournament news and various things happen. I want to give a very big thank you to Progeneer and to Krabs, because those two have been absolutely fantastic moderators today, shouldering a lot of responsibility. They've been brilliant, so please give them your thank yous in chat. I want to give a big thank you to all of the participants for today. To have a full 8 for a quarterfinal to grand final run, brilliant. We hope to see you all back and more, fingers crossed, for a week's time. I want to give a big thank you to Bacon, and I know Bacon's not going to have been expecting this. This man has shouldered a big leadership role in recent weeks, and I think he deserves to be congratulated for it, because all of these nice new overlays, all of the progress that you're seeing in regards to tournament styles and where we go from here, it's being channeled and funneled. I almost combined the two words through him, so please give him a big thank you. Bacon, any final words from you?
No, that I'm just excited for what's to come across the whole of the Unite Battle Hub, and of course next week and the following week with these fun themed tournaments. But you'll just have to tune in. Make sure to drop a follow down below. Make sure to head on over to Twitter, where we'll be posting highlights, clips, and all that good stuff. There is a TikTok in the works, don't you worry, and a YouTube. To get information on all of those, again, just head on over to the Discord. That's going to be the easiest place to see it if you want to catch up on the VOD. Not just here on Twitch, there will be YouTube as well. But until next time, stay safe. We'll see you soon for even more Pokemon Unite.
too generous. Now I've learned to never help you out.